Thank you.
Oh yeah, you got plenty of room. Just making sure you guys have enough room.
And then last Sunday, I had to go to a conference Sunday night in Indianapolis, so I thought, I can't miss another conference. Yeah, it'll be over before I get back, so I thought, I'll bring the girls with me. This is Say, Donna. These are young people. Women want a knife behind them like this. Yeah, I missed you ladies.
We missed you.
We have our own little section. This is our family.
That's the way it is in our church. We got our own.
Yeah, little section. We have our little section in church.
We got our own pew, and nobody comes up.
No.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
We would share with them.
Okay. Sue, we won't be back by September 11. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's September 11. Yeah.
She said, yes, I will try and remember. I asked you yesterday if you had other staff. You watch. You watch. I bet you anything. Oh, I didn't know she could make the next week. I pulled it out of the garage. And I've got it sitting right there at my, between the door and the piano. It's too heavy. I can't pull it out. I tried. And I shouldn't have done that, you know. I never got her. She's got church tonight. That's what she's
It's really nice. Well, I think it's so hard. Yeah. So made almost one little ball. They look kind of wild now. They look funny.
Yeah, no, mine are younger than yours.
Yeah, how come? I noticed that too. Maybe that's the way she likes it. They only beat on one side.
Guten Tag, and welcome to our annual German concert. We have at least 40% of the people that live in this part of Indiana are of German descent, including those that Huber bunch, whose ancestors came over here about 175 years ago. Huber means planter, so they were farmers. Yeah, which is a cool thing. Okay, that was Hoch Heidelberg. Heidelberg is a big German city, and this march was written back in the days of the many Kaisers, their kings. And just a real nice piece of music. This one was purchased for us along with some of the others we have by Maurice Swander, who was a member of the Jackson Township Band for years and went back and forth to visit friends and relatives in Germany. And he would always bring us some music every time he'd come over. We'd be glad to see Maury was back, but we were even more glad that he brought us some more music. Now, we had a birthday in the band this past Friday, Gary Van Middlesworth. Gary and I taught school together in Greencastle, and he turned 80. His wife said to say how old Eddie is now. Okay, Gary, take a bow. He definitely does not look his age. He's in super physical condition. Gary taught science with us at Greencastle Middle School for many years, and he was very welcomed a member of our staff. Now, what did he do to celebrate his birthday? Something some people in the band and audience might like to do. I don't think I could do it, though. He went skydiving. He jumped out of an airplane. And as you can tell, he lived and survived it. And the airplane wasn't on the ground either. It was way up there. Way to go, Ed and Gary. Yeah. I don't know if he'll ever want to do that again, but he did it. Has anyone in the audience ever jumped out of an airplane, either military or just for fun? Okay, that guy right over there. Oh, I know him. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what Ed was thinking. I mean, Gary, Ed is another teacher from Greencastle who's here tonight. What Gary was thinking, but as he floated through the air, he had to be the happy wanderer. Ed Maddox, who's a frequent visitor to Forest Park, also taught with Gary and I. So we had a lot of great people to work with at Greencastle. It was a really happy third of a century being over there. Now, the Jackson Township Community Band, that's our other group, and about 25 of the people in this band also play in the Jackson Township Band. We are going to perform this Thursday, August the 7th, at the Indiana State Fair at the Indiana Arts Building. We've been doing that for about the past 25 years, and so we know several of the State Fair people. They're great people, every one of them, and we'll be playing at 6:30 p.m. And so we'll look forward to seeing you. We get in for free. That's a cool thing. Okay, and our next piece now is Die Wacht und der Rhein Marsch, which, if you put it into English, is the Watch on the Rhine. Okay, the Rhine is a major river. Who's been in Germany out of our crowd and audience? Okay, a bunch of people have been to Germany. Okay, that's great. Okay, all right. This is by a German composer, Franz von Blon, who was a military band leader and a French horn player in the German army bands of back in the days of the Kaiser, in the days of World War I and before. Our next one is by Johann Strauss, entitled The Gypsy Baron. And it doesn't mean without clothes. It means B-A-R-O-N, like a royal title. That lady got a kick out of that. Okay. All right. Well, I got a note here. I'm the guest speaker this week on Wednesday, August 6th, for the Brazil Rotary Luncheon. And feel very honored to be asked. I get up there about every 5 or 6 years and get to speak. I was made a Paul Harris Fellow by the Rotary back about 10, 11 years ago, and I'm very proud to have that title. I want to tell them all thank you. All right, so anyway, the Rotary these days meets out here at the Highway 40 Grill at Murphy Avenue and US 40. Okay, and now from Johann Strauss, and arranged by a Hoosier, Harold Walters, who's from Seymour, Indiana, and was married into, guess what, the Huber family. We found that out several years ago. But he's still a good guy. Okay, the Gypsy Baron.
Thank you.
This is a busy month for our bands. We have 4 concerts, counting tonight with the Brazil Concert Band, will be done on August the 24th. And we have 2 concerts with the Jackson Township Band. One I already told you about, the State Fair, and on August 23rd at the Bowling Green Old Settlers. Both of those concerts are at 6:30. And it's just hard to believe how fast the summer's gone on. In August 24th, I know there are 5 Sundays that month, but we contract for 13 concerts. And so we will be finishing up on August 24th right here. So we appreciate you guys all coming out and being with us every week too. That's great. Okay. Sound of Music. All right. And I think we know the premise of what was going on with the story and everything. And but here are the tunes that you're going to hear with this. The Sound of Music theme, The Lonely Goat Herd, My Favorite Things, 16 going on 17, Do Re Mi, Edelweiss, Maria, and Climb Every Mountain. They're all in this, an arrangement by Robert Russell Bennett. Gerhard Wigginton is in our audience tonight, and he's the guy that owned and operated that wonderful German restaurant in Terre Haute all those years. Gerhard, take a bow. Real proud. The Beer Stooge. He was a few years ahead of me over at Indiana State, but he was in the Navy Reserves and ended up with the rank of what, lieutenant or lieutenant commander? Lieutenant, 2 bars. Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. All right, and now The Sound of Music. Watch out for goat herds.
There's the goat right there. Take your Randy, why is that
Earlier in the piece, you heard a beautiful French horn solo by Dr. Kelly Hall. Kelly's an administrator at DePaul University, has been a member of our band for quite a few years, and she did a super job. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, Carl Tyka, the musical policeman. He was a soldier in the Kaiser's army prior to the First World War, and he played several different instruments with the band. And he wrote a march in honor of all his old comrades. In German, that's Alte Kameraden. His name, Carl Tyka, after he left the army, he became a policeman. And according to legend, he would rather write marches than write tickets. I read that someplace. That's a true story. Okay. Alte Kameraden to the German military is like our own Stars and Stripes Forever here in our country. This one you've probably heard. And he's unusual. He spells Carl with a C. Most Germans spell it with a K. Check out that sunset. Have you noticed the past few nights the sun has set before 9 o'clock? 8:59 last night, 8:58 tonight. That's scary. Yeah, I know. Okay, here's a great polka piece. How many people in your travels to Europe have ever been to Liechtenstein? I got it right there. There's three people who've been to Liechtenstein. Okay. Well, a lot of people in Liechtenstein speak German, and this is the Liechtensteiner polka. it's such a beautiful evening. We're going to go ahead and play everything we've got on our list. Is that okay? Yeah. Look at July. 3 of the Sunday nights we had to go over to the pavilion. And for about 6 concerts this summer, it was hotter than you know what. And tonight, good Lord's given us, and Jesse Waters has given us not Jesse Waters, but Jesse Walker, different Jesse, right? Okay, this is the Kaiser Parade, again by the German composer Franz von Blon, written in the very late 1800s. And now a great medley of German waltzes. This is entitled Proststimmung. Well, a song that goes with a very popular, still on every day TV show, Hogan's Heroes. Bob Crane, who played Colonel Hogan, is the guy who wrote the percussion part that you will hear throughout this. He's a very famous percussionist as well as actor. All the people who performed on Hogan's Heroes are now dead, including Mr. Kenneth Washington, who died just a few days ago. He was in the last year of the show. He took the place of Ivan Dixon, who went on to become a television producer and director. And now, Colonel Hogan is about to, his drum section over here, they're about to play and entertain for you. You're going to hear some really great drum music in this one. Hogan's Heroes. Troops. Hey, we'll close with a real old favorite, Beer Barrel Polka. It was even played, I'm told, on the Titanic, but it didn't sink. At least the music didn't. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to do Gershwin, Jersey Boys, some stuff that's just a little bit strange for us to play, but we'll be here next Sunday, and we'll still have some good old-fashioned marches and things. We won't disappoint you there. So next week we're back to our regular 8 o'clock schedule. And the weather looks really good. It looks good for the state fair come Thursday night. And we appreciate, how about all these nice people who showed up to be with us tonight, band? We appreciate you all very much. Okay, and now, Beer Bell Polka. You're welcome to get up and dance on this one. You guys are definitely really good. Hey, our birthday boy, Gary Van Middlesworth, will now come up and sing the greatest national anthem in the entire world, ours.
Oh, say can you see by the early light
These Greencastle people I taught with, all were great people. There's one of them right there. And there's another one of them right over there.